What's up? What's up? Welcome back to Comics Are Dope. I'm BJ Kicks, and this is The Hangout. This is a live stream that I do most Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm excited to be back. I was out last week. I was sick, had a terrible cold. It was the worst. I couldn't talk very well. So I canceled last week's stream. But anyway, like I said, we do this every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. We get together, I review a few comic books. I try to think of a topic that we can discuss here in the chats, and we just have a good time. So if you're watching this on the replay, thank you. Hopefully you can catch us live next week or in the future. And if you are watching this live, thank you. And let me know what you're reading this week. So I've got Skip is here. Looks like Skip was first this week. James is here with the duck emoji. Yes, sir. Mentor Prizes is here. Val Zod's here. What's up? What's up? Bunkmaster B says, I always get nostalgic when I wonder if this kind of murder needs a hook. Word, word. And Flash by Night's here. What's up, dude? What is up? So, yeah, man, we've got a fun show. I say we. I don't know. I feel like a Tonight Show host or something. We've got a special show planned for you tonight. We got a musical guest in the house. But anyway, Tayshawn's here. What's up? What's up? But yeah, anyway. So tonight, of course, we're talking about nostalgia in comics. Like, when does it work? When does it not work? And this whole topic just kind of came to me. This TV really does have a mind of its own. The remote is like way over here. I didn't touch it, I promise. But the idea came to me because I was reading a bunch of comics this week, right? Today, or this last couple of days, this week I just basically like tried to read almost my whole new comic book day stack in one day, which almost never happens. But I read Darkwing Duck, I read Gargoyles, I read Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles, their team up book. And I realized like almost everything I read this week was like some property that I was super familiar with from my childhood. And I wonder like which properties are doing well, like which companies are doing well with these sort of licensed works and which ones are not making the mark as much. So we're talking about that tonight, and we'll see where the conversation takes us. Before we do that, though, I got to give a quick shout out to everybody that makes this channel possible. So first up, to the channel family, everybody that you see in the comments right now with badges next to their names. Like I said, I think the longest tenured channel members have the Robin badge right now. The newbies have the Joker head, and there are some in-betweens there. So thank you to all the channel family who supports the channel, and you guys are co-producers on all the content. And if you'd like to be a channel family member, you can click the join button down below. And if you don't want to, give on like a recurring basis, there's always a super chat option to show some quick support and get a shout out on the live show. And then another quick shout out to Organic Price Books, our channel sponsor, who is the best source for collected editions online. I just got a shipment notification for my Omni get-in order for January. Still trying to decide if I'm going to do like a haul from that video or from that package, or if we're just going to do individual overviews. I'm thinking we're going to do individual overviews whenever those arrive, sometime next week. But one book that I'm very excited about that's in that package is the Milestone Compendium Volume 2. I cannot wait to do that overview. And next month marks 30 years of Milestone, so I got some fun stuff planned. Hopefully I get to execute on all of it. But anyway, when you place your order at Organic Price Books, you can use my discount code BJKicks at checkout and save $2 on every order. Thanks to OPB for making that happen, for passing along savings to all of my audience, and for being dope, because comics are dope. So, Tim's here. What's up, Tim? How are things going? I can't complain, man. I'm not feeling sick anymore, although my wife has caught all the cooties now. So, life is life, man. My job is crazy busy. But hey, what else is new? So yeah, I want to go ahead and get to our first segment of the night, which is, of course, recent pickups. you know, I don't buy a ton of stuff these days, but last week or this past Sunday was my birthday, and I got a little bit of birthday cash to play with. So besides Darkwing Duck variants, which I'll show you in a second, I did splurge on one item that I saw at Target, and that is this. Oh, the light. There we go. This is the McFarlane Toys Gold Collection or Gold Label Batman, the animated series figure. And I don't know how well you can make it out because of this glare, but the lightning bolt lights up just like the animated series theme song or intro, stinger, what do you want to call that? Eventually, I'm going to open this. I decided that this is so special to me that I want to do a video about it. So it's been sitting in the box waiting for me to film an unboxing video, or I don't know. I'm not a toy review guy. The last time I tried filming a toy review, I don't even think I even put it out. It was a Gunslinger Spawn figure, also by McFarlane Toys, but I just sucked at doing the toy review. But I'm going to do it for this one, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. You think my gain can come down about 20%? How's this? How are we doing now? Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, man, I've got this this dynamic mic with no cloud lifter. And so I had to like turn up the interface crazy high. And now I don't get like an accurate signal meter. So I don't get to see when I'm coming in hot. So I appreciate that. But anyway, yo, Charles is here. Yo, Charles. Charles, you're also one of the reasons that you're still hearing clipping. Okay. Charles is also one of the reasons that I was able to splurge this week. Because Charles asked for the Cash App on my birthday. So I appreciate it, sir. You're the reason I got all these Darkwing covers right here. You guys work with me on the audio. Let me know how it's sounding to you, because I'm not monitoring it on the way in, and I don't really have a way to do so at the moment, actually. Appreciate it, sir. Appreciate it. But anyway, so that was my recent pickup, the McFarlane Toys Batman the Animated Series. Now just move. Okay. Move whatever phone that is. No, I have been getting like signal interference on this mic like for the last 2 days, and I cannot figure it out because my phone is not always nearby, and I'm getting that like that buzzing. And I tried switching out the XLR cable because to make sure it wasn't like crossing paths with a power cable or anything. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna have to like do some real audio nerd deep diving at some point this weekend and just fix my whole signal chain because it's anyway. Yep, the buzzing. So the buzzing is still happening. Yeah, man, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's causing it. I don't know if it's the mic itself. We can fix this later. We can fix it later. But hopefully it's not too distracting. I hate that. But what I can try to do, what if I turn the input down, turn the gain up over there? Yeah, it's whatever. It's whatever. We'll figure it out. So anyway, what's up, Kevin? What's up? What's up? So yeah, so I got the McFarlane Toys Batman the Animated Series. R.I.P. Kevin Conroy. That's really the reason I bought it. Like if Kevin Conroy hadn't passed away, I probably would not have thought twice about this. Although I remember when I saw the promo images for it online, I was excited about them then. But the truth is, this figure came out once before without all these extras in the back. And I didn't like it back then. And it sat on shelves for a minute back then. So shout out to McFarlane for finding a way to, you know, drum up interest for the same figure that didn't sell out before. It's got a different paint job. It's got a different cape. And that's about it. That's about it. But you can see right here on the back, this is what it'll look like when it's out of the box. And I'm excited about that. So now that we've played around with the audio and looked at Batman a few times, let's go ahead and move on to some comic book reviews. So the reviews, plural, of the week. We're gonna start out with not the book that I'm gonna spend a lot of time talking about this evening. So let's go ahead and start with Sins of Sinister, issue number 1. So this is actually the book I read most recently. I read this like maybe 30 minutes before the stream. But Sins of Sinister, written by Kieran Gillen, art by Lucas Wernick, Brian Valenza, and more. First of all, I didn't realize this was like a 45-page issue. Like it's an oversized issue, or an oversized issue, and it was worth, I would say, because this one had a $5.99 cover price, and I'd say it was worth that price. At least just in like extra pages. Did it need this many pages to tell the story? Probably not. But basically, if you did not read Immortal X-Men number 10 last week, spoilers for that. But the Immortal X-Men number 10 last week was a prelude into Sins of Sinister. And my gut reaction, I do these one read comic reviews. So I'll read a book once and then put in a review and a rating. I gave this one an 8. I gave Immortal X-Men like a 9.5 last week. I feel like the prelude is a little bit better than the story so far, but this one's got a lot of world building. So again, mild spoilers for issue 10 of Immortal X-Men. Sinister has found a way to kind of bend the resurrection process into his favor. And that's the way I'll put that. He's found a way to like influence everyone who's ever been resurrected or who will ever be resurrected through the protocol. And in this book, which in the solicits was called Powers of Essex, which was funny to me. But this basically kind of shows like, now that we know Sinister can control the resurrection protocol to a certain extent, here's how the future goes. There's also another major component of how Sinister's doing things that I will leave for you to read and find out, so that my review doesn't just spoil everything for you. But here's like how things are going with Sinister sort of in control for 1 year, 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, just like Powers of X or Powers of 10. And I gotta say, the world being remade in Sinister's image is kind of crazy. One thing I mentioned in my little blurb review was I was surprised at how quickly I was annoyed by Sinister's voice, especially as he like uses his voice to speak through some other characters. But overall, this is probably like, to me, the best start to an X-Men event since House of X Powers of 10. It's better than Judgment Day, which was also written by Kieran Gillen. And so far, at least as an X-Men event, it's better than Judgment Day, as well as the Ten of Swords, to me. I felt like the Ten of Swords actually started out really, really strong and then kind of lost me at the end. So this could just be a recency bias, but I like how Sins of Sinister is starting. But I feel like the event is going to kind of live and die on how well you enjoy Sinister, as well as how well you enjoy who's going to end up being like our protagonist to try to counteract these sinister measures. And I'm going to leave that for you to discover on your own as well. because that has me hype. But yeah, seeing how Sinister is kind of remaking the X-Men world and the greater Marvel universe in his own image. We're getting 3 different titles spinning out of this. We're getting Immortal X-Men, we're getting Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants, and we're getting Nightcrawlers, kind of in the style of Age of Apocalypse, where they're replacing the so-called main X titles. So Storm and the Brotherhood is replacing X-Men Red. Immortal X-Men is replacing Immortal X-Men, and the Nightcrawlers is replacing Legion of X. I believe that's Nightcrawler's book. But some very, very interesting stuff going on. Like, what I like about this book, besides the cover, because this is one of my favorite covers this week. Shout out to you, Nick. What I like about this is I feel like this was not a part of Hickman's original plan, but this draws from the Hoxpox stuff in a way that makes it feel like it was there bubbling under the whole time. And I think that's like the best you can ask for from a comic, is just to take what came before, respect it, and bring something new to it. So who knows? Maybe this was part of Hickman's long game. He just didn't get to be the one to execute it. I don't know. But this doesn't necessarily feel Hickman like, but it does feel like at least Kieran Gillen read what came before and was like, ooh, let's do something with that. So pretty good. I gave it an 8. I rated that one an 8. So let's move on to Action Comics 1051. This is the book that I just assumed was going to be my favorite book this week. Blue says it absolutely was not a part of Hickman's original plan. I didn't think so. That's what I put in my little blurb. Like, it doesn't feel like it was part of Hickman's plan, but it at least feels respectful toward it to a certain degree. Again, I think where I have a hang up with this book is just, it's a little bit too much Sinister. And I just, Sinister's cool in doses. I can't take Sinister talking all the time. But anyway, Action Comics 1051, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, with art by Rafa Sandoval, which was a surprise to me. I didn't know Rafa Sandoval was joining Action Comics. I like Sandoval's work. He is also doing Black Adam with Christopher Priest right now. But anyway, this is a brand new jumping in point for new readers, even though I thought 1050 was the jumping in point for new readers. And we're getting the great return of the Superman family. Like, everybody's in here. Connor's in here. John Kent's in here. The Chinese Superman is in here. I gotta find a better name than Chinese Superman. I can't remember his name though. We got these 2 new characters who are being dubbed the Super Twins, even though they're not twins, which were the War World refugees. Kara's here, Natasha's here as Steel, and of course Clark is back. And again, they've been slow building this Superman versus Metallo fight, and it's still not quite happening. It definitely gets started up in here, but it's not quite the showdown I was expecting. I guess I have to just kind of wait a couple more issues for that to take place. All in all, I was kind of disappointed by that fact. They were really hyping up this Metallo thing, and I thought that was what we're going to get here. But I mean, hey, it is what it is. There's a moment in here, by the way, where John discovers something in a closet. You've probably seen it on Twitter at this point. But that was funny to me. A wholesome book, a fun book. Again, I didn't realize they were going to be bringing back like everyone in the Superman family. So this is definitely like starting a new sort of status quo. And I'm excited to see where they go with it. With all these super people, like, there should be like no crime ever. I saw someone say online, and I agree. So we'll see where that goes. I gave Action Comics a 7 out of 10 this week. Really good, though. Good artwork. I enjoyed it. It's not as much as I thought I was going to enjoy it going into this week. So that's that. And then we basically get to all these nostalgia plays. So next up, Power Rangers Ninja Turtles Volume 2, Issue 2. Um, I wrote in my review in the Discord and on the community tab that this book feels like it's trying to justify its existence, right? Like Power Rangers Ninja Turtles Volume 1, we already got a couple years ago. When I was first getting into comics is when this was coming out. And I loved it. It was like every issue, something new and crazy and wacky was coming out. And it was like it was just a full-on nostalgia play, honestly. Like if you remember the Ninja Turtles and you remember the Power Rangers, or you remembered either, it was like it was hitting on those cylinders for you. Got to give Metallo time to marinate. Bro, he's been marinating for like 4 issues. It's not my fault other people haven't been reading it. But anyway, so Power Rangers Ninja Turtles Volume 1, like I said, it set up, it established why the Rangers were, or the Turtles were in Angel Grove, or the Rangers were in the sewers, or wherever they were at. It gave time for their villains to sort of mix and mingle, and for it to make sense as to why a certain villain was after power coins. And you got like all the things. They made it make sense. And then they gave you like some ridiculous things. We got the Turtle Rangers. We got Shredder as a Green Ranger for a second. And I was like, okay, this is dope. But, and then it kind of ended like that. With this, it's like they're trying to pick up where that left off, basically. But when the whole point of your series is let's just overload with nostalgia, if you're gonna do a sequel, you have to like top that somehow. And this kind of takes some of the same ideas in Volume 1 and flips them a little bit, or tweaks them a little bit for Volume 2. So in this series, Casey Jones is Breaking Bad and is like against the Turtles for whatever reason. And he's under the control of Rita Repulsa, or at least a pawn in her plan right now. And it's cool. The book is good. I can't even like knock the book, but like I said, this one is a little bit harder to like justify. But even with the story not being like as solid to me as the last volume, the art is amazing. The action is amazing. The pacing is amazing. And it's a very fun book. So if you just wanted to wax nostalgic with your favorite 2 action franchises from the 80s and 90s, well, you got that. So even with all the things I'm knocking it for, I still gave it an 8 because the art was great and the story's wacky, but I'm here for it. So Power Rangers Ninja Turtles, when nostalgia wins. All right. I was avoiding talking to this one. I just said that with his chest. No, man. Listen, man. Metallo's been marinating for way too long. Next up, Gargoyles, issue number 2. Now, Gargoyles is another TV show. Interference. What? I'm assuming he's saying that about the microphone signal. If it's like too crazy, like someone let me know, but with more descriptive sentences so I can tell it's not just like a sounds hacks. All right. Yeah. So, okay, mic signal interference. Let me try something. Hold on. Whoops. I know what it is, I think. Taking the kids to get some shakes. Yo, what's up, Omar? I appreciate you stopping through. You caught me in the middle of technical difficulties trying to fix my audio and be an audio engineer. And yeah, it's going how it's going. the short answer is there's like way too much happening in the studio. I'm about to. I might try switching the mic. Give me a second. Yeah, we're done with X-Men spoilers, and I didn't even really spoil it. I didn't really spoil it much at all. It's gone. Okay. So what I think. Okay, perfect. What I think was happening is that the power cable for my camera was crossing the mic cable, which is a shielded mic cable. So this shouldn't be a thing, but it is a thing, and it's been a thing for like a couple of days. So give me another second. I'm gonna try one more thing. Anyways, thanks for stopping through, Omar. Appreciate it. This is risky. This is risky. I'm gonna do it though. All right. First of all, can you hear me? And if so, yes, risky business. First of all, can you hear me? And if, how do I sound? Low volume, good. All right. So this is a whole different mic. I have to turn up the volume of my inputs. Interference way lower, but your voice is a little softer. You guys, what I think is going on is I have a 4-channel mixer. You know what? It's better. Okay. All right. I'm just gonna have to do this handheld like a freaking late show reporter or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think, well, if this is better, then I don't know. Great now. All right, cool. I'm glad that worked. I'll have to I'll figure it out. But anyway, the show that or the book that I didn't really want to talk about today was Gargoyles. So Gargoyles, another interference is back, just low. All right, I think there's one more thing that I'm going to try. And that is, this is best for now. All right, cool. I'll have to figure this out. I have to figure it out later. Gargoyles, number 2, another Disney afternoon TV show turned comic book, and a different approach to nostalgia than Darkwing, which we're going to talk about next. But I think where this kind of falls flat for me is that it is definitely a continuation of other Gargoyles stuff that came before. And Greg Wiseman, who is the writer on this and the original showrunner for Gargoyles, the creator of Gargoyles, he says in an interview in the back of this book that, hey, yeah, this is for people that are fans of the original series, and this is for new people to jump on. Like, don't feel like you got to read or watch the show to read this. And, you know, I hear him, but this does not feel like I'm supposed to be reading it without any prior knowledge of the show. And I say that even as they do like introduce everyone in the first issue, and they do try kind of do their best to kind of explain what's happening as the story goes along. And this is where I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is a failure of the writing or a failure of myself to like get past my willingness to know things, right? I definitely poured myself like a big bottle of water, and I think I left it in the other room. But anyway, but either way, when I'm reading this book, I'm like, I just have an urge to stop reading it and watch the show to get caught up to whatever point we're at in this book. Because as much as it feels like they're trying to introduce me to things slowly, it very much feels like a continuation. It feels like I'm a part of a story that, I jumped in on chapter 3 is how it feels. And, it's unfortunate that it feels that way, but that's how it feels. And I don't really know what to do with that information. I'm going to stick around with the series, stick on the series, at least through issue 3. And as far as I know, it's a 6-issue mini to start. So, I mean, but I think what threw me off or what messed me up is that I did start watching the TV show before issue 1 came out. I only watched 10, 12 episodes. I think I got up to the beginning of season 2. And when I opened this book up, there are so many things that are different than what's in the first season of the show that I watched. I'm like, okay, this character's acting different. I don't know who that is. I've never seen that person before, and so on. And it's like, because I have a limited knowledge of the show, it's throwing me off. I feel like if I had gone into this book blind, I might be able to read it better. I might be able to digest it a little bit better. But this just, to me, because I watched a little bit of the show, it makes me feel like I'm missing a whole lot. And maybe I'm not missing much. Maybe the stuff that I'm missing is inconsequential, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels like I missed some epic storytelling in the second season of the show and then tried to read this as a continuation. So artwork is solid. It's not my favorite. It's not bad. It's just not like a crazy faithful adaptation of the source. I mean, it looks, I'll show you. So it's like, it looks like the show kind of, but then it also doesn't. And that wasn't the, there's also this page is a good example of the paneling confusing the heck out of me, because I'm like, I'm supposed to read it from this one to that one, but I don't know, man. I couldn't. There were times where I couldn't tell what line of dialogue I was supposed to read first, and yeah. But what bothers me on this is the gargoyles' faces, and I'm not gonna be able to get that in focus because my camera doesn't autofocus, but it's the gargoyles' faces that just, something about them just doesn't go well with me, depending on what facial expression they're making. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But overall, I think I gave this a 6.5 in my initial rating. It might bump up to a 7 later on, but I don't know, man. I just kind of read through the whole issue feeling mildly confused, and it didn't really, I wasn't able to kind of get over that confused feeling until basically the end. And even with the ending, it was like a character that I've seen once, but fighting for things that I didn't know existed. That's probably the best way for me to say that. So yeah, man. Gargoyles. 6.5. And of course, the star of the show tonight, Darkwing Duck. Darkwing Duck issue number 1, written by Amanda Deibert, or Dibert. I'm assuming it's Debert. Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Bert. I'm joking. Amanda Dibert, and I think it's Carlo Lauro. Dog, this book is great. Like, I was watching an interview that Amanda did with, I think it was the Captioned Life podcast, and she was talking about how she prepared for the to write the comic series, and she was like, she just binge watched the series. She binge watched the cartoon to try to like best capture the spirit. Plotted out a story and started writing. And when I tell you, like, this feels like it's written by a Darkwing fan, like, it's not. It doesn't feel like how would I put this? It doesn't feel like an AI like watched hours and hours of Darkwing and then spit out a Darkwing episode. This does feel like this could be episode 1 of the Darkwing Duck reboot. And I think the way I feel about this book could very well just be based on how much I loved Darkwing as a kid. You know, like I watched Gargoyles as a kid, but like I didn't watch it in the serialized way that we might watch things now, right? Because we didn't binge watch things. You just kind of, you turn on the TV and whatever was on. And if Gargoyles was on, cool. We got a cool little adventure and it worked out, right? But when I go back to rewatch Gargoyles, there's definitely is still that done in one nature, because again, reruns weren't as big a thing, or, binging specifically wasn't that big a thing. It's not like you were going to get the whole season on a home video, but there's like a through line in the show, and the show definitely progresses from like episode 1 to episode 69 or whatever it was. With Darkwing, I think that formula works better because Darkwing is comedy. Like, Darkwing is a parody show, and every episode of Darkwing can exist independently of the last or any other, right? And I think because of that, Darkwing has like a sort of formula that works well for a comic book adaptation, as I think that's the best way to put it. So anyway, without like having thoughts toward the franchise as a whole, thanks for stopping me in, Flash. I appreciate it, sir. But thoughts about the property as a whole aside, I just think this was a really, really good issue. Like, because it takes all the things that you know about Darkwing, like the catchphrases, the alliteration, just the Darkwing being like wanting to be the center of attention. Like, it's just like Darkwing to try to make a fashionable entrance to a statue unveiling ceremony for himself, right? But anyway, in the issue, there's a statue presentation. Darkwing's running late for it, and all of a sudden, all the citizens of St. Canard are being mind controlled by Megavolt, and we got to figure out how and why. And just like in the cartoon, you get Darkwing being like the clumsy hero, and you get Goslin being the one who's really gonna like save the day, right? This is probably one of my favorite panels, by the way, where she goes, "Let's get into unsupervised and mildly questionable trouble." It's just great. But I mean, this really does feel like a lost episode of the show. But there are like references to modern technology and stuff like that. So it feels very much like if Darkwing was a show today. And man, I loved it. By the way, the art, if you can't tell, is just awesome. It is just awesome. Like, gosh, it is great. And it makes me really, really want a Darkwing reboot on TV. But if I can't have a Darkwing reboot on TV, I am totally fine just reading it in this comic, because every voice, every character, like, I heard the show in my head. Like, again, man, it's hard to beat nostalgia. And this just like it felt like it just unlocked core memories of my childhood. And so it's hard to tell like where this comic ends and the show begins and vice versa. And for the 7 minutes it took me to read this book, I was fully engrossed. So this got the highest mark for me this week. I did not expect this to be my favorite book. And I even said it in the pull list video. Like, yeah, it probably won't be my favorite book. It probably won't be the best book this week, but I'm most excited to read it, is what I said. And they proved me wrong, because this book is great. And I bought this book like 8 times. So I've been showing you the cover A by David Nakayama. This is a cover B by Mirko Indolfo that Bunkmaster B really needs to like find a way to get. Special order it from your shop, something. This cover is by, is it Ken Hauser? It's a David Mazzucchelli Batman homage. And I like that a lot. And then I don't know who this one's by, but this one was a ratio variant. I think it's a 1 in 10 or a 1 in 7 or something like that. Dynamite went super hard on these covers. But when I saw Megavolt's one of my favorite members of the Darkwing Rogues gallery. And so when I saw it, I was like, let me get it. And when I realized it was the trade dress less cover, I was like, all right, let me get that. It was only like $1 more. It was like $6.99 for this one. This is the only one I paid more than cover price for. And so, yeah, that's 4 copies of this book. I didn't need 4 of them, but hey, like I said, Dynamite went super hard. There were like at least 12. As a matter of fact, there's a cover gallery in the book. And not even counting the retailer exclusives, 5, 10, 15. Some of these are just like the same cover, but with other treatment, like foil variants and virgins and stuff like that. But yeah, man, either way, $6.99. Your local giving a good deal on that one. Was 3 more at mine. So Fire, the one thing about Ultimate Comics that I will say is great. This is not a sponsored video, by the way. Because they have 1, 2, 4, 5 locations, they place one big diamond order for all their stores. And so with these ratio variants, they get like just a ton of them, because it's basically one account. So where your comic shop might get 1 or 2 1 in 25 variants, because you'd have to buy 50 issues to get just those 2 variants. Ultimate can do that like with their eyes closed, because they got so many stores in so many different areas. So I'm lucky in that way that I can get ratios for a little bit less than, going rate, at least on release day. They tend to adjust their prices later on if stuff doesn't sell. But yeah, that's the only reason I was able to get a good deal on that one. But I kind of wish I had gotten it with the trade dress on it, because the top third of it kind of looks empty without that Darkwing trade dress. But yeah, just the cover gallery on this book is like 4 pages long. Like, look at all these covers that Dynamite printed for this book. It's kind of crazy. All those are covers for Darkwing #1. And all these weren't available at my shop. A lot of these last 2-3 pages are retailer exclusive covers. So yeah. But all in all, a great book. A great book. Viruses, that makes a lot of sense. They only had the one when I got there at 11. Yeah, man. Yeah. So, Darkwing Duck, I gave it a 10 out of 10, but like I said, that could just be my nostalgia bias. But I really couldn't find any reason to ding it. There's one gag. They do a gag with the theme song, and I feel like that could have been better executed. So if I just wanted to like nitpick, I'd give it a 9 based off that. But my ratings are arbitrary anyway. They're not really like based on any sort of objective criteria. It's just how did I feel about the book? Like, how did I feel while reading the book? So read the review. Take the rating with a grain of salt is how I feel when I write reviews. That's how I feel about any review, honestly. But yeah. Darkwing Duck is my favorite book this week. By a long shot. Like it's not even close. Looks like there was a blank sketch variant. Who's your ideal artist to sketch you a cover for Darkwing? That's tough, right? Because a lot of the people that I love do like kind of complicated artwork. The first person that comes to mind is Bruce Timm. Like, what would a Bruce Timm Darkwing look like? But if not Bruce Timm, probably Trish Forstner, who actually did a variant for this book. Trish Forstner did which cover? Trish Forstner did Stray Dogs, and she did the D cover for this with Morgana and Launchpad. So that's probably who I'd get to do it. You said audio going crazy? Is the audio going crazy? Y'all let me know in the chat. We might have to just cut this stream short, honestly. These technical difficulties are messing with me. I was told that it is staticky, but I was told it's not as bad right now as it had been. So yeah, man. Like I said, if it's too bad, if it's too much of a distraction, we'll just have to do this another time. But all of that, now that I've reviewed every book that I read this week, all that brings me to this week's topic, which is nostalgia. Like, does it always win in comic books? And I think to a certain degree, like if we're reading comics, we're reading them for nostalgia purposes, right? Like we're revisiting characters and stuff like that we've known for ages. You know what I'm saying? He said, "Holy, is it that bad?" But we're revisiting characters that we've known for ages, whether it's Batman, Superman, whatever, Darkwing, Gargoyles. But I feel like there's one way to do it, and there's a way not to. And I feel like we're seeing it here, right? Like, I don't know. Now it's okay. Okay, cool. Like, I feel like this is like the tale of two nostalgia-driven franchises, right? Both published by the same company, right? Both published by Dynamite, both trying to recapture some Disney magic. By the way, Dynamite getting the Disney license is hilarious to me for reasons. But if you know, you know. But where I feel like Darkwing succeeded, I felt like Gargoyles couldn't. And I feel like Darkwing captured the spirit of what the Darkwing show was. Or maybe just the spirit of the Darkwing show just lends itself better to being a comic. Whereas Gargoyles, which is also very much a nostalgia play, like, hey, I loved Gargoyles as a kid, as a teenager, whenever. And, you know, and then Yeah, I love Gargoyles as a kid, but something about this just doesn't work. And I think the difference is like, I don't know, the more I think about it, the more I can't really fault the writers. I really do feel like the properties just lend themselves to the medium in different ways. Like, this feels like a Darkwing fan wanted to see more Darkwing. And this feels like somebody wanted to continue a franchise that was long forgotten. And because the franchise was long forgotten, the material just didn't hit. That's what this feels like. And I don't know. That's not to say that anyone could make a Darkwing comic work. But if I gave 5 writers the challenge of writing a good, funny Darkwing Duck book, I feel like at least 3 would give you, decent books, right? This one knocks it out of the park, but at least 3 would give you decent to good books. This just feels like chapter 93 of 150. And there's only one person that can write this. And I don't know if that person is like interested in like really catching everybody else up. This just feels like it's not it just doesn't lend itself to a new audience. And that's not really nostalgia gone wrong. That's just not adaptable material. Like, Top Gun says, you think Gargoyles is more built for building off the cartoon, while Darkwing storytelling is built for more one-off story issues? No, because to be fair, when I go back and watch this cartoon, yes, there are through lines. Yes, there's plot that develops overall, like all the way through the show. But each episode definitely still had like a sort of done in one feel. Like, there's a conflict that's central to this issue or this episode, and we get introduction, rising action, climax, falling action, next episode. But this just doesn't feel like that. And I think a part of it is just with comics, unless you are going to truly do a done in one, you've got to do like that whole teaser, the sting to make it to the next issue. You got to do the shocking thing. And this does have that shocking thing. I won't show it to you because I don't want to spoil it. It has that shocking thing to sort of hook you into the next issue, but this didn't feel like it was a continuation of issue 1. It felt like it was a continuation of something like from decades ago. Like, I don't know the best way to put that. And I think, like I said, I think the problem really is because Darkwing is meant to be funny, and Darkwing doesn't really have a greater mythology to build you up to. You can introduce the characters real quick and like, now, great, here's the adventure. This one is like, the characters are in a very much ongoing struggle against a bunch of different people. You know? Bunk says, I kind of disagree on Gargoyles not being suited for comics. Honestly, I think the show would be pretty perfect comic if done right, with episodes of total complete story, but each one building. Right. Like, what I've seen of the show, like I said, I watched pretty much all of season 1. Like, that could be a comic. It just feels like the creative team is not trying to make this a comic that works well. It feels like, hey, we wanted to do a season of the show, and here's that season in comic form because we couldn't get it greenlit as a show. That's what this feels like. It's a pretty great ideal. You get complete story power issue and a bigger storyline in the trade. Right. Or per issue, I think is what you meant to say. I think, like, you know, that's what comics are at their best, right? Like, it's hard to pull off, especially in this era. Like, give me a story that works on its own and as a part of a bigger story. But that's where we are. Could you elaborate on what you mean? What changes storytelling wise from the show to the comic? The way this feels, yeah, I think that's the greater issue with the creative team. I don't think it's the property. I think it's the goal of the creative team that makes this like if, because there are through lines that you could draw from Darkwing or from Batman the Animated Series or from Dinosaurs, the Jim Henson Show, right? And with any of those properties, I'm sure like we were like, oh, I wish I could get like 3 more episodes of that set in today, right? Like, how many times has something happened in the news and you're like, oh man, I wish the Boondocks was still a thing, right? And a part of it is, that the show is like a sort of commentary on things that happen today or in, current events, whenever current is. And so you've got that working for it, but you've got like the spirit of these characters in this show. You know how they act in any situation, so you can imagine how they act in the world we live in today, right? So you could hope for a new season, right? But if I was going to do another season of the Boondocks, I would want to, like I said, toss around maybe some news stories from 2022, maybe the Trump election, right? Some, funny stuff. What I don't want to do is like, all right, let's go back to season 2. What happened immediately after the trial of R. Kelly? Like, let's get like the hidden moments between that episode of it. It's too much of a deep cut, And I think that's the difference. I think Wiseman here, and I'll keep going back to this issue, like maybe the problem is me. Like, we're getting character introductions. We're talking about, I don't want to. This just didn't do it for me. And I think what it is because there's not a ton of action in this issue, it doesn't give you a great resolution. This one very much, I don't know. Something's just not clicking with this one for me. Do you think this could work without having watched the show? That's what I said at the beginning. I'm thinking maybe if I didn't watch the little bit of the show that I did, that I could go into this blind and accept the story a little bit better. But I feel like if I didn't watch the show, I might not even read this. Because we're throwing in characters, we're alluding to relationships that they have, whether with each other or with people that are not shown on screen or in panel. Like, we are relying on a lot of history, and we're trying to tell that history as we go, or they are trying to tell that history as they go, but also try to move forward. You can't go in 2 directions at once. And maybe that's the big issue. You can't be like, let's move this forward, but also say, here's this, here's this, here's this, here's this, here's this. The audio's going crazy. All right. So I just have to apologize for the audio. At this point, I don't really know what to do about it. And I've also not come to a conclusion on how I feel about this topic. So I'm probably just going to end this. Top Gun says, because I've never seen the show, I found it pretty easy to jump on to. Granted, you have to just assume a lot of things. 12th reboot of Miles a banger. Me holding it has fixed it. Well, that's weird. I've been enjoying the Miles reboot so far. We're not far enough in to like really say if it's good. The art is great. The story is like going somewhere at least. It could be. This is a brand new mic cable. I plugged in this cable. I pulled this cable out of the box today because I thought the issue was my older cable. I don't know. I think the issue is with my mixer, but I'll fix it later. Yeah, I don't know why this isn't jiving with me, but I feel like maybe to enjoy this, I need to have been like a Gargoyle super fan the way that I'm a Darkwing. I wouldn't even call myself a super fan, but I loved Darkwing so much as a kid, right? I watched Gargoyles in passing. I remember certain characters. I don't remember others. And yeah. You shouldn't have to try so hard to enjoy a book. Right. And that's my thing. I don't feel like there's something wrong with me for not enjoying the book. It's just there's something missing. I think hardcore fans of Gargoyles will still like it at least. But I can't see this being for new people. Top Gun says it worked for him because he had no introduction to Gargoyles, the franchise. And maybe that's true. But for me, this wasn't it. Is Gargoyles a comedy? No. And like I said, I think that could be the issue, right? Like, this doesn't bode, because it's so dramatic, you feel like you gotta know everything going on. It's like, it is, but it's not like a soap opera, right? Like a soap opera, you come in, and soap operas have been going forever. You're never going to watch a rerun. You're just going to watch it today. And then they're going to hook you, and you're going to watch it again tomorrow. And then the next thing you know, you're looking for reasons to go to grandma's house so you can watch General Hospital for like the rest of your life, right? That's how soap operas go. And I feel like comics should work to a certain degree, like soap operas, maybe not quite as dramatic and with plot points that actually resolve, right? But this feels like if somebody was like, hey, you should watch, I don't know, The Wire. And I don't know, every example I come up with there, you could definitely get hooked in the middle of the thing. You know, like a soap opera, you could start anywhere and get hooked. With a good TV show, you could start anywhere and get hooked, right? Like my wife watches Criminal Minds, and every episode is an episode. You could watch one, take it or leave it, or you could watch like 8 seasons. And when I ask my wife, like, what's going on in Criminal Minds, she'll be like, oh, well, last season, this dude divorced his wife and somebody came after them. And now this dude is back. And this is the case they didn't solve, and blah, blah, blah. Right. But when I bounce in and out, I'm like, all right, cool. The way this works is somebody's dead. There's a profile. They use the profile to narrow it down to one specific person. They catch that specific person in the act while saving the life of one other person. And boom, that's the show. One and done. Every episode is one and done. But there are clear through lines that other people who are complete fans can enjoy. And yeah, this doesn't feel like that. This does not feel like that. I think you got to be more of a fan of the show to watch this or to read this. I feel like if you watched all of Gargoyles, you're going to know who everyone is. And some of these things are going to hit a little bit more. Like, these people, you're going to be like, yo, like, you can be like, oh, snap. Okay. See, Kicks, you're proving my point. Too few comics are like that. Too much writing for the trade. Only works for those starting from the beginning. Yeah, that's my biggest issue with this. This feels like you had to. This feels like I needed to watch 2.5 seasons of Gargoyles and then start reading this. I feel like if somebody did not know what Darkwing Duck was, I could give them this or tell them to turn on an episode of the show, and either would work. So yeah. So I guess the question is, what's the best approach to it? Right? Like, can we be mad at Wiseman for just wanting to continue the story he had been telling? And to be fair, this isn't all continuation. There are new things introduced. There's new conflict, but it's familiar people. And I feel like you got to be familiar with those people to really get what's about to happen. Are there any comics doing this in the modern day? Like, we're 3 issues into Fantastic Four by Ryan North, and that is doing it decently well. I'm hard pressed to name another comic that's doing that. X-Men for a little bit. X-Men by Jerry Duggan was doing that for a little bit. Is there anything else that I'm reading that you don't have to like be caught up on to read? I don't think so. I'm curious to see like how other people feel about Gargoyles. Like, am I tripping? Am I the butthole? Another look at nostalgia. Look at Spawn 300. That thing started and claimed to be a completely new jumping on point. So far, he's proved his point, though mostly because there isn't a story. Yeah, so I bought Spawn 300, and Spawn 300 ended up being like my first Spawn comic. And when I was reading Spawn 300 was like 5 stories or something like that. It was like 3, 4, 5 stories in it. And they very much felt like the culmination of something. But then I kept reading, and it just, the book is like a tug of war. But no matter what happens, you just end up in the same spot, and it got frustrating. Spawn 300 didn't necessarily feel like a great jumping in point. But then when I read Spawn 296 through 300, I was like, oh, this makes sense. 296 was a great jumping in point. 300 was like, yeah. Great art, though. But yeah, there mostly was not a story. I'm trying really hard to think of a book where you could just read one issue and be like, that was a good issue. I got nothing, dog. A lot of even like Power Rangers, no. There's nothing. Moon Knight, is Moon Knight it? Yes, Ice Cream Man is a good one. No, Nightwing is telling this ongoing story. You got to kind of read it in order. Ice Cream Man is a good one, though. The Flash had been there. Well, no, they're telling like really short arcs, like 2-3 issues at a time. Yeah, there's like nothing in my current stack of reading that's like, oh, just read one. It's like, no, you got to read all of them. There's plenty of good, like, short stories. Like a lot of what I've been reading here lately, I've never read Hellboy. But a lot of what I've been reading here lately is like stuff like Superman for All Seasons. It's a 4-issue mini. Secret Identity was a 4-issue mini. Gotham by Gaslight, I think, was just an OGN. God Loves Man Kills. There's a lot. There's a lot of like different little like sort of prestige books done in one. But yeah, man, most of what I've read in the last going on 4 years since I started reading comics is stuff that you gotta like read 5, 6 issues at a time. There are exceptions. There are a few exceptions. But yeah. Yeah, man, that kind of sucks. I don't read it, but Red Room by Ed Piskor is about to go on his third run, and all the stories are self-contained, so you can jump in at any time. I heard Red Room was just like crazy, like, we'll just say not a Kicks book. Yeah, we'll say not a Kicks book. There we go. So yeah, I can point to stuff that has like good, like done in one qualities. But everything that I can point to is like Bronze Age or before. Like most of Chris Claremont's X-Men, it's one issue, and you could read that one issue and never pick up another one. Even though as it goes on, there's little threads that they just pick up on later and stuff like that. But almost everything in my collection, I'm keep looking around trying to like prove myself wrong. With the exception of like the OG Milestone stuff, almost everything in my collection is meant to be read as some long, sprawling epic. Yeah. I've heard Usagi Yojimbo's not that way, but I've never read it. So do I like a story having multiple issue arcs? I'm fine with it. I don't want every story to be like a 6-issue arc, which is basically what we're in now. Like every book is all right. Here's chapter 1 of 7 of this thing. I would rather there be more books that give you like a, 2-parter. If that. I love a good done in one comic book. We just don't get them often at all in today's economy, today's market. It's just not what we get. I'm looking so hard trying to find something that's like, but no, all of it. While we're talking nostalgia, what's a franchise you'd love to see revived with a comic adaptation? I don't know, man, because so much of what I enjoyed as a kid, whether I knew it at the time or not, was already based on comics or has already gotten a comic adaptation, right? Power Rangers is a comic. Batman was always a comic. Spider-Man was always a comic. X-Men was always comics. What else did I watch? I wouldn't mind a Dexter's Lab comic. Give me good fun. Like all the stuff that I would want to see is just straight up like 90s cartoons, right? But yeah, a Dexter's Lab comic, Cow and Chicken or something. I don't know, maybe not Cow and Chicken, but definitely Dexter's Lab. Ed, and Eddie could work as a comic. A strip, if not a whole book. What else would I want to see? Brandon says he wants a new Samurai Jack comic. Boondocks as a comic would be great. As a matter of fact, I actually read the Boondocks comic strip before Boondocks, the TV show. Are You Afraid of the Dark? And Alex Mack. Alex Mack for sure. I think they did do Dexter's Lab. Really? I don't have any uniforms. There was a Dexter's Lab comic published by DC from 1999 to 2003. Yo, there's 34 issues. Yo. All right. All right. Now, go to eBay. See how much that's worth. Yo, that's crazy. I'm not paying $30 for issue number 1. All right, let's go to a different website. This is Laboratory. 1999 series. No issues in stock. Yeah. Anyway, stuff like that. I used to read Boondocks in the back of the source as a kid. Yo, what's up, Dominic? Dominic's got such great like branding, and his channel is doing really well. If you haven't been watching the Comic Book Report, go subscribe. Dominic is who like I would be in my head. Like, I don't know. He just pulls it off in a way that few can. So, good stuff. Of a full-size Boondocks comic. Word. What else would I want to see? That's probably it. Honestly, man. Like just some of the classic Cartoon Network stuff that I watched all the time. The Rugrats is a comic. My daughter used to pick those up. Rocko's Modern Life too. But yeah, stuff like that. I have a LeBron, but I have the Space Jam graphic novel adaptation. There is a LeBron James comic though. DC published it. I haven't bought it. Johnny Bravo probably couldn't survive in this climate. 30 for issue 1. Laughs in ISOM. Rocco had a comic from Boom a few years ago. Yeah, I definitely saw. My wife loves Rocco's Modern Life. It's one of the few TV shows that I own on DVD because my wife loves it. Ren and Stimpy. Didn't they also have a comic? I won't even cap. I wasn't allowed to watch Ren and Stimpy as a kid, and so I never watched it as a result as an adult either. But yeah, man, I'm pretty simple. All of my stuff is typically. Most of what I remember from childhood was superhero stuff anyway. And all that stuff still exists in comics, which is why I ended up being a comic book fan. Because I loved animation so much, the DC animated universe. Marvel, not so much animated, but it was the DC animated stuff that got me into DC comics. And I eventually ventured over into Marvel, and here we are. So, yeah, man. You know what? While we're on the topic of like Disney cartoons and Disney reboots, I would love a Goof Troop comic book. Like, give me Max and Goofy Adventures. Whether you want to give me like the young Max, like in Goof Troop, or even the older Max, like in the Goofy movie. Like, give me that. By the way, I forgot to show this during the recent pickup segment. But my man Vire came through and sent me this copy of Spider-Man. I think it's Spider-Man 17, but it is the Avengers, or Disney 100th anniversary variant. So they're going to be doing these once a month for all this year. And it's just going to be the Mickey Mouse characters taking on a different classic Marvel cover. The next one I'm really looking forward to is one where it's Goofy in the Incredible Hulk #1 pose. But there are some others. There's a Mickey Mouse as Iron Man. There's some cool stuff coming. So had to grab this. I think Tayshawn is trying to grab all of them. Kicks didn't say revive. Bunkmaster B said revive, or whoever asked the question said revive. Yo, you know what I need? I need 100 deeds of Eddie McDowell. That man only got to deed like 32 before the show got canceled. I don't even think he got that far. Do y'all remember the 100 deeds of Eddie McDowell? Nickelodeon? They made it to 40 episodes. I need the other 60 of those. Because you're not going to tell me that man just had to stay a dog for the rest of his life. Like, turn that man back into a human. And how long does it take him to do these 100 deeds? Terrible. Terrible, terrible. Man gonna miss all of the 8th grade being a dog. I remember Cousin Skeeter on Nickelodeon. Yeah, I love. Matter of fact, I think Eddie McDowell came on like right before or right after Cousin Skeeter. Is this a Disney deep cut? I'm trying to think of like how long did it even last? Like, okay, so it first aired October 1999 and it was over by March 2002. 3 years is a decent run, I guess. But look, I don't know. I reviewed a bunch of comics. I told you why Darkwing worked, why Gargoyles so far isn't really working for me. It could be me, but I don't know. I feel like it's not me. I don't know. So when you guys read Gargoyles #2, let me know. Like, join me in the Discord. We can talk about it. Cause I gotta know I'm not crazy. Maybe I'm not being crazy. Anyone remember So Weird on Disney? Nah, man, rich kids had Disney Channel when I was growing up. You know, I was trying to figure out why, even though I knew I didn't have Disney Channel, I remember it so vividly, the Disney Afternoon, and so many Disney shows, Aladdin, the animated series, Timon and Pumbaa, and Darkwing, and all that stuff, right? What's up, Jane? Jane, your dad is a superhero. He's great. Your dad is awesome. So do whatever he says. But yeah. Yeah, I was trying to figure out like why I remembered all this stuff from the Disney Afternoon if I didn't have Disney Channel. And I learned today that the Disney Afternoon didn't come on Disney. It was syndicated to like Fox and a bunch of other channels. And that's why I remember all these Disney shows. The 90s was awesome. Yeah, man. Let's work on the sound. We'll talk about it. Because we got to start. I say filming, but I'm eyeing 2 weeks from today to start that recording in earnest for that. And that is a Hangout exclusive. Anyway, that's going to be it. I suck at wrapping up these shows, but thanks to everybody that stuck around and the 10 of you that are still here. I appreciate you all. And look, I don't know what you read this week. I don't know what you're planning to read this week, but I hope it's something dope. I'll see you next time. Peace out.